everyone, it's Michelle from Tape and Twine. Thanks for joining me today. I am not in Creative Cottage, my studio. I'm actually in my indoor space now, which is very exciting for me. And I think today we'll be doing a tour of that space in the October episode of Tea With Me. But I do want to get to a couple things that I usually do, which is share my tea, have a little chat, and share a couple recommendations. And I definitely have a couple to share first. But I'll try to keep this episode as concise as I can and hopefully fill it with things that will inspire you. And let's have some tea together. So this month, October, is one of my favorite months. It's important to me because it's my birthday month. I was married this month. I absolutely love fall and the foliage. Halloween is my favorite holiday, and feel free to look back at last year's if you want to see my little witchy self. But this year was very exciting because I went on a little trip with one of my best friends, and she took me to her home stomping ground on the Jersey Shore in the north part of New Jersey, and it was absolutely incredible and beautiful and lovely. And we stayed with her sister. Shout out to Deb and Mark. And Deborah is probably the biggest Anglophile I have ever met. She absolutely adores everything England and British, and the tea is actually from her. It is Lady Grey, which is one of her favorite teas, and she sent us off with a box of it. And that's what I'm drinking today with a little bit of honey. I decided to forego the milk today. Thanks, Deborah. Now, speaking of Deborah, she also gave me a book that I want to share with you. This book is just amazing. I'm going to move these flowers because I don't want to hit it. This book is called Women of Flowers, a tribute to Victorian women illustrators. And it's done by Jack Kramer. It's a book from 1996. Jack has been collecting and writing about Victorian illustrators for some time. And this book is his tribute to them. And this book is just gorgeous. It's full of thick, lovely, creamy paper that's in a buff matte. So if you use this for artwork, it's going to just be gorgeous in junk journals or collage or whatever projects you want to do. That's if you can even cut this, because this book is so amazing. But I did a little research, because I don't want to cut my copy, but I do want to have some of these illustrations available to me. On Thrift Books, you can get the hardcover for between $12 and $15, but there is a paperback. And on Amazon, you can get that paperback used. And I got the paperback there were several available options, and the one I was able to get was $3.49. With shipping, it'll cost me about $7.25 to get the book, and that's an amazing price for all the material that's in this book. Now, what I don't know is, because it is a paperback, it could be glossy paper. I will keep you posted about that when I get it. But if you get the hardcover, you will definitely get this creamy paper. If it's a wonderful edition, I probably would never cut it, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of these out there. It wasn't published by a big firm, a big publishing firm. So, I'm going to keep this one as is, as a lovely gift and a reference piece for myself. But I would definitely not feel bad about the paperback. So these are all a list of the illustrators that he profiles. And Edith Holden was not in here, which is interesting to me, but that's fine. These women do exceptional work, and what I really like about this book, and I'm going to flip from the back because it's easier than flipping from the front. What I really like about this book is it's not just these beautiful pictures and the history of these illustrators. It's also why did Victorian women do botanicals, and what the purpose of that was, more than just as a genteel Victorian approved activity for women. Look at this. Isn't that just gorgeous? The pictures, the illustrations, the history, the information in this book. If you are someone who enjoys Edith Holden, who loves botanicals and the stories about all the Victorian illustrators that were never properly acknowledged because they weren't looked at as important of the day, this book is for you. It is just full of so much information. It's full of so much beauty. It's really just, I never would have known about this book had Deborah not given it to me, and I just thank her for this because it is such a treasure. And I think that a lot of you in this community would really appreciate this book, not only for material, but for background information. I will put a link below, the name of the book and all the information, and you can go through your used book paper sources and hopefully find this book. The second book I want to talk about is kind of a jumping off from last month's Tea with Me, when I talked about an actual naturalist book written by Maryjo Koch, which I totally butchered her name because it's Koch, and I said Koch or Koch, and it's not. It's Maryjo Koch, and she's a naturalist, a nature illustrator, and her daughter Sunny is a collage assemblage artist. And the two of them together have written this wonderful book, The Art of Vintage Journaling in Collage. And it's all techniques and inspiration for working with antique ephemera, which is right up our alley, right? And so often, if you're new to collage, even if you're not new to collage, this is an inspirational book. But if you're definitely new to this whole thing, this is a great place to start with projects and techniques. She does all sorts of wonderful projects and will tell you what she used and what the process is. So she'll actually have the material list and then the process list, which is really, really cool. And she does all sorts of fun collage and assemblage projects using ephemera and pieces of paper and all the things that we junk journalers use all the time. Look at these glitter bottles. How fun would this be to have on your work table rather than having regular bottles, but to find all these and make these gorgeous glitter bottles. This book is just so full of inspiration and projects, working with paper and using collage, and it's been really fun to go through, and I can't wait to try some of these, even just basic ones on how to take postcards and letters and make them more beautiful. So if you're somebody who enjoys sending happy mail, and in the back she has ephemera you can photocopy. Isn't that great? Look at that. So this is a wonderful book. Again, I bought this on Thrift Books for maybe $6 or $7, and you can still get it on Thrift Books, Amazon, and I even found that Target is still selling it. So it was published, let's see, in 2009 by Quarry Books. So you can absolutely still find this book, and it's not old, but it's exactly the kind of stuff we work with, and really I can't recommend this enough. I will put the book information down below, but also mention that Maryjo Koch does have a Patreon account, and she teaches naturalist painting on there, but her YouTube channel has about 24 or so videos that are the most relaxing, beautiful videos to watch when you're looking at how a naturalist paints. It's it's very inspiring. So I'm going to put all those links below because I think this Maryjo is a wonderful place to get some inspiration. I did not find any places where you could follow Sunny. Maybe a little on Instagram. She has an Instagram, but she doesn't post too often. Maryjo has more, but I will put all the information below. Definitely check out their books, and can't recommend this enough. Okay, now let's get down to the important stuff. My new workspace. I have been very, very fortunate to have an outdoor studio gifted to me by my husband, but it does not have insulation, which means it's too hot in the summer and too cold in the winter. So I get to use it, but I only get to use it at temperate times, and I can't keep all my materials down there. And I'll be honest, at night when it gets dark, I get a little scared out there sometimes. You know, it's a little bit removed from the house. We have animals everywhere, big animals, and I only have a couple hours of light that comes off of the solar panel. So while it's a wonderfully inspiring place, it's not a place I can do long work sessions, especially if it's too hot or too cold. So I've been waiting for a place of my own inside. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I had what I referred to as the nest, which was really just the landing on the second floor between my two boys' rooms. My oldest son moved out, got his first apartment, and I took over his room, which is really, really exciting. And that may seem very quick to some people, but I know that my son, he's an independent sort, and he will probably never come home. And if he does need to stay home again, we'll find a place for him, but he probably won't want to be in this room anyway. So I took his room. I left a couple of things from him still up there because I never want to take everything away, that this was his room. But I've turned it into my workspace, and I'm just thrilled to have all my things in one place. And I'm going to give you a little tour. Let me just say before we start, I'm somebody that needs to see everything I have, or have everything close to me at hand, or else I won't use it. I forget I have it, I rebuy it. So everything is out, and it seems like a lot, but that's how I need to work. It's not for everybody, but it's my way. So without further ado, welcome to my indoor space. Welcome to my studio. Well, my inside studio, that is. And here we go. So this little corner is now a cozy little day bed that was my son's bed that I switched around, and I have a quilt on it that my mother made me. She had made it for the studio, but I want to use it here. And on the back, she does this thing where she takes strips of cloth from the project and makes this little sort of panel, and it reminds me so much of washi tape or a snippet roll. I just love it. And look at these little decorative flaps she makes. I just love her work. She's amazing with fabric. And she also made me this pillow with all vintage buttons. Can you believe she sewed each one on one by one? And then a little botanical for decoration. The headboard that we had, I switched it around a little bit, and now I'm using it as a bookcase. And this is all my handmade journals that I've made, or that I've been given as gifts or purchased from other artists. I just love having them out and being able to see them. And then I have a very extensive book collection, and many of these books I purchased for inspiration or to cut up, and honestly probably will never touch them with a knife or a pair of scissors because they're just too beautiful. I do have an extensive amount of naturalist books, so like nature guides, and those I probably will dig into, but half of them are antique and vintage and probably will just stay as inspiration for me. I just love my books. So here we are going past the wallpaper into the corner where my antique writing desk is. If you follow me on Instagram, then you've seen stories about this desk and its origins. And I love that it's by a sunny window that overlooks our side yard and the park across the street. Even though this room is not that big, it has a lot of wall space because it does have only one small window. So I won't have a ton of natural light in the other parts of the room, but it does allow me to have a lot of wall space to use. This writing desk is where I will be doing my journaling and writing to pen pals, things like that. And here are some shadow boxes that I created with polymer clay. This particular one, I have glow-in-the-dark polymer clay so that the little windows in the moon glow at night. I also have these little mushroom boxes that I created because if you all follow me, you know I'm crazy about my mushrooms and my fungi. Love those little boxes. I just love having handmade things all around me. I also have this hanging I made from polymer clay using the polymer clay paper transfer, which I have a video on. I'll link that below if you want to learn how to make a project such as that. And then I have my little magical woodland collection together, including this sweet little pincushion that I purchased from an artist on Etsy. And she does a lot on Instagram as well. These books are definitely my cutting books that I have no problem cutting up and have already been cut into. They're there ready for me to use. I have a lot of succulents in my house, so I had to have a few near me. And I also have some of my more fun flea market estate sale finds, including these cute little performing elephants from the circus. My guess is they were probably made in the 1940s or 50s, and while I don't condone the whole thing that have come out with animals in the circus, there's something about the circus that's very romantic to me. So here we are in the workspace, and I was able to construct quite a big work table in this corner, and I bought absolutely nothing for this room. Everything was sourced from my own house, from my other studio, and from my basement, or given to me. That pegboard was given to me by my mom. But I used to do craft fairs, so I had a lot of display material for the craft fairs. So I was able to use a lot of the things that I used to use for my booth in this workspace as cubbies and as storage. And this piece here, I absolutely love. It's sort of like a mail slot piece that I purchased probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it had been through a fire, and it smelt like a fire. But I have scrubbed all the soot away, or most of the soot away that I could, and I reglazed it, and now all my washi tape sits on it. And as you can see, I have so many supplies. And that little paper thing hanging my son made. I moved my type tray from my nest back inside. And if you all recall from my nest, the 1970s buffet that I refinished is right there and sits underneath it. And this L shape allows me to have everything at my fingertips. Not only my tools and the things that I need to create, but the things that I find inspirational. This is my little sewing area, and I'm going to turn on a gift my mom gave me. Watch this. It is a LED light strip that you stick on the inside of your sewing machine to get more light, and it's just brilliant. And then I have this frame right here, which I put all my rubber stamps on, that the clear ones that you stick on blocks. It's easy to access them, as well as a collage piece I did a couple of years ago. And yeah, that's my area. So here I'm just going to show you a little bit more about how taking a frame you can store some of your acrylic stamps and have them ready to use. Peel them off, put them on the block, clean them, put them back on. So that's just out because I often forget about them. And if you guys have been following my Instagram, you know who Glenda is. And this is a tapestry I got at Glenda's house, just hanging there for a little inspiration. And then I have one section of old vintage trims and ribbons on the back of the door, as well as a couple of rulers. And then the closet, which was a clothes closet, is now being used as storage, most of it at least, for all of my other stuff, like my ribbons and my extra stamps and all sorts of things. And now inside that buffet, I have all of my envelopes, and I have tags, stickers, and then all my punches. Again, always look at furniture that is not intended for craft as a potential craft storage. And then I just have some of my favorite little things that make me happy. Illustrations and figurines of my gnomes, little vintage pieces like this little tin typewriter, and just things that make me happy. I love collecting old vintage tins to put my supplies in. As you'll see, I have plenty of them in this space. And buttons, clothespins, twine. My little friend, my little shop pal from my cousin Sue. A tiny little journal I just created. Some more special items, gifts and tins. And then my type tray, which I absolutely adore, which I put a lot of the stamps I use often there. And then these cute little miniatures I just purchased from Kansas City. And I like to mix my stamps with all sorts of little artifacts that I collect, like thimbles and little tiny vintage pieces. I love owls. I have some pieces of things from Happy Mail. I have some mushrooms. And then something you might not know about me is I am a massive Keith Urban fan, and I was able to meet him probably almost a decade ago at this point. And that was my little picture, the only thing I have from that night backstage. And then just other little pieces, tins and things that just make me happy. I think type trays are a wonderful way to have storage and a really nice visual piece in your studio. And then if you saw recently on my Instagram, I found an old drawer that I turned upside down, and that is now storage for paper and my antique or my vintage thimble collection and some of my more pretty papers. Again, I got this drawer for free and just simply put it on end, and it's become a great storage piece for this desk. And I am just a sucker for miniatures. I found these vintage flocked miniatures and put them in this tiny type tray I got in London. I think every corner of this space has something in it. And that's it. That's the wrap up of my little indoor studio space. my little slice of creative heaven, and I appreciate you stopping by and watching it with me. I have so much gratitude for the fact that I have the ability to have a space in my home. I know that's not something everybody has, so I truly feel blessed. Thank you very much for joining me on my little inside studio tour, and for joining me for tea. I've enjoyed chatting with you, and I hope that you have a wonderful October. If you like this video, if you found that there was some interesting information in there for you, please push the like button below, and I'd love for you to subscribe. I have some tutorials I'll be coming out with this fall, including one in polymer clay, another one in polymer clay, so please subscribe so you will not miss it. I appreciate all the support that this community gives me, all the inspiration that you continually offer, and stay safe, and I will see you in November.